Hey everyone, and welcome back to Litigation Corner. I'm your host, John Martino, the Director of Litigation for Community Legal Services, and I'm coming to you today to continue celebrating the 60th anniversary of Community Legal Services. Today's episode takes us to Sumter County, where we'll learn more about its people and its community. Founded in 1853 and named for Revolutionary War hero General Thomas Sumter, Sumter County has deep roots in Florida's history. Spanning just over 550 square miles, Sumter County features scenic rivers, forests, and protected natural areas. It shares borders with several counties. The Villages, a large and well-known retirement community, has grown to be the county's most populated area. By 2023, Sumter County had over 150,000 residents, and with a median age of 68.2 years, it has one of the most senior populations in the United States. The county's history comes to life at Dade Battlefield Historic State Park, which preserves the site of Dade's Battle of 1835, a key event that marked the start of the Second Seminole War. Visitors can also explore the county's historic towns like Bushnell and Wildwood, featuring local museums and historic homes. Sumter County offers plenty of ways to explore the outdoors. Visitors can hike at one of the many wildlife management areas, where they can observe local wildlife and spend the day fishing, hunting, bird watching, and more. Even in a county full of natural beauty and history, residents can face unexpected challenges when disaster strikes. CLS helps people navigate legal issues that can make recovery feel overwhelming. This month, we're going to highlight the work we do for people recovering from natural disasters both in Sumter County and beyond. Our Disaster Legal Services Unit assists individuals and families with FEMA claims, landlord and tenant disputes, and problems getting state or federal disaster benefits. We also help with insurance claims that are denied, or when people fall victim to scams that target those affected by a disaster. In addition to those immediate concerns, CLS also helps with issues that often continue long after disaster strikes. This can involve helping someone who lost their job or income, guiding families through personal safety or family law matters, or replacing important documents that were lost or damaged, things like IDs, wills, and estate papers. CLS also helps families resolve complicated matters involving heirs' property issues and probate. Disasters often disrupt more than daily life at home. CLS helps families protect their children's education by ensuring that they can stay in school, maintain stability, and keep moving forward in their learning. I recently sat down with Paul Ferreira, the managing attorney of our Disaster Legal Services Unit. We recently sat down in the Sumter County area of the Villages. I hope you enjoy this latest edition of Direct Examination. Paul Ferreira, thank you so much for joining me in Sumter County today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So you're the managing attorney of our Disaster Legal Services Unit.
Yes.
You're also a veteran. You've owned a law firm before. You've also been a prosecutor in the past. You've done a lot of different things over the course of your career, and it's finally led you to legal aid, which I certainly appreciate. So the point of these interviews is to get to know you a little bit better and talk about the work that we're doing. So first, let's get that background. So where are you from originally?
I consider myself a first-generation American. My parents immigrated from Lisbon, Portugal, but I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. So I like to say I was born in the USA, but raised culturally Portuguese.
Yeah, I certainly have similar feelings about My dad's parents were from Sicily, so he grew up in a house where Sicilian was kind of the main language and stuff like that. So he was certainly first generation, and his sister was actually Sicilian, so it's kind of one of those things where I grew up in a culturally Sicilian home. As you were growing up in Jersey, what was kind of the first thing that you wanted to be growing up?
I can remember wanting to be an architect. I used to like to draw a lot, and I remember wanting to be an architect was probably the first job. At one time in my life, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a Catholic priest, but that was just a phase.
Did you have any heroes growing up?
I was really into Greek and Roman mythology, so the gods were like my superheroes, and the connection with the stars, the astronomy, I liked, with the exception of Thor. He was my favorite Marvel character, but there's that mythological connection there.
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, you are a veteran. So tell me a little bit about your military background.
That could be an interview by itself, but I served for 32 years in the Army Reserves. I started off in the Airborne Infantry, paratroopers. Then after 9/11, I transferred over to Civil Affairs. And then after that, those 17 years after that, I spent more than half of them on active duty. I ended up doing 2 tours in Iraq, a tour in Afghanistan, a tour at the Pentagon, and then United States Central Command in Tampa, which is what brought me down to Florida. And I retired in 2023 with the rank of colonel.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
We talk a lot, but I know I don't say that enough, so thank you. Why did you decide to become a lawyer?
At some point in my childhood, it just became a given. Like when your mother runs into somebody that knew you when you were a kid, and they haven't seen each other in years and years, and they say, and they ask about you, and they would ask about me, and she would say, oh, he became a lawyer, and they said he picked the perfect job for his personality. So I don't know where in my lifetime it became a given, but it was just accepted.
So you manage our disaster legal services unit, which is a new unit that we've created in the last few years together. When we say disaster legal services, what kind of things are we talking about?
Well, it's a mixed bag of, it's a little bit of everything. What the common denominator is the legal problem or the legal issue was created by a disaster. So it could be some landlord-tenant, it can be contractor law, FEMA, it may be specific to disaster law. But that's what I like about it. It's a little bit of everything, the common denominator being the disaster.
One of the things I know when we talk about planning for the year, we talk about the concepts of gray skies and blue skies. What are those concepts and how do they relate to the work that we're doing?
Blue skies is a period of time during the year when everything is going smoothly, the weather is nice, and you can have an opportunity to prepare for the next hurricane season, which is usually June 1st through November. And the gray skies is the part where the disaster is impending, just before the skies are turning gray, then the actual disaster, and then the aftermath, and dealing with the aftermath would be the gray sky period.
So what kind of things do we do during blue skies?
Between January and hurricane season in June, we'll be doing a lot of outreach. We'll be going to events throughout towns, open houses, places where sheriff's departments have emergency preparedness outings, activities, and we'll be there mostly to let people know that we exist, and if they need us, that we're there to help. We are also looking for people who may be dealing with legal issues from previous disasters and didn't know that we could help them out. We also attend a lot of emergency preparedness conferences, and that's more about partnership building, getting an idea of what we can expect the next hurricane season, and identifying new technologies that could help us work and meet the needs of our clients.
As someone who grew up in Florida, I know one of the major issues we're talking about is flooding. And we've had a lot of clients who've dealt with flooding issues. So what are the major things people need to know about flooding?
Well, I think I should start by recognizing if you live in Florida, you live in a flood zone. Whether your house is beachside or oceanfront or up against a lake or even far inland, there's something close by that can flood and damage your home. Retention ponds, rivers, streams, whatever. So recognizing wherever you are is a flood zone would be the first step. The second would be to understand the difference in homeowners policy, what a homeowners policy will cover with regard to flood damage, and what flood insurance provides. A lot of people, unfortunately, don't find out the differences until after it's too late, after they had a loss.
I know there's been a recent change of the law when it comes to flood disclosures. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So historically, or before now, if a home was subject of a FEMA claim, in other words, FEMA had to pay out to help repair the home as a result of a flood, that owner would have to give notice in writing for all subsequent owners that there was a flood there and that FEMA had provided some help. Now recently, just this year, Florida, the legislature broadened the law so that it includes giving notice to tenants when they're renting space. If there's been a flood there before, the landlord, the owner of the property, has to give written notice. And it also, thankfully, expanded also to mobile homes. So people who are buying mobile homes that are on a lot, if that lot has experienced a loss before or flooding, that mobile home owner has to give notice that there was a flood there. So the person can make an informed decision on whether they want to buy it or not.
And that new law, I think, is so important because there obviously were a lot of communities that were affected in our service area in 2024 and certainly back in 2022.
We had at least one client who bought a mobile home. She didn't know it was on a piece of property that had been flooded before. And then FEMA denied her claim, and then we couldn't help her because she was not given notice and she didn't have any insurance for it as well.
One of the other areas that we focus on, I know, in the unit is dealing with contractors. Following a natural disaster, a lot of times contractors who are not local come to areas to seek out work. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're reputable contractors, sometimes they're not. So what do people have to look out for when hiring a contractor to repair damage after a disaster?
Well, the first thing to look out for is, are they licensed in the state of Florida? That's probably the most important thing, because if they are licensed, they've shown some form of responsibility in registering with the state. They should have a license number on their contracts, or if you ask them for their license number, they should be able to give it to you and you can look it up online. Second is, be wary of large deposits, like 50% deposits, something in that area. Normally, a contractor takes 10 or 20% of a deposit of the job done, but now sometimes materials do cost more after a disaster, and they may ask for a little bit more, but just be wary of large sums deposits. Also, what I've seen some people do is they turn over control of their insurance claim to the contractor so that the contractor ends up dealing with the insurance company directly, receiving the checks directly, and sometimes they don't show up. They receive the checks but don't show up to do the work, and that's a problem.
One of the other major areas we focus on is FEMA appeals, and there's certainly been some recent changes with FEMA over the course of the last year. What do people need to be aware of when it comes to FEMA, flood insurance program, and getting denials?
So the first thing would be managing expectations, and FEMA is not an insurance carrier. FEMA is a payer of last resort, and what FEMA does is they pay just enough to make a piece of property or a home safe, secure, and sanitary, not to put it in the same condition it was on the day before the storm. That's a big difference. If you have a high-quality, handcrafted front door that is damaged, well, they're going to pay you for a basic door that you need to close and lock in order to secure your home. They're not going to pay you for the quality or custom-made door that you ordered. And same thing throughout the rest of the house. If you have nice tiles, high-end appliances in your kitchen, they're not going to reimburse you for that. They're just going to give you what it would cost the basic appliance in order to get you to be able to cook in your kitchen again.
I know a related topic is SBA loans. So what is an SBA loan? Because I know after disaster, when clients have told us, oh, we got offered SBA loans, I'm
Right.
like, what?
People think because it's the Small Business Administration, they think, well, I'm not a business, why are they offering me a loan? But really, because the Small Business Administration routinely gives out loans to businesses, they're set up to be able to do the same thing to disaster victims. So that's what they do. Sometimes FEMA may pay you just enough to make that house safe, secure, and sanitary, but then there's a gap, between that and what you need to actually repair the home and restore it. Sometimes if you qualify, you can get a low interest loan from from the SBA. You have to be a disaster victim in order to get that loan. But those loans are really low interest rates, like 3% sometimes, and they can last us 30 years. And in some cases, you can roll your mortgage into the loan. So basically you could, because you're a disaster victim, you have that status, you may be able to refinance your home at a better rate and get some extra money to restore the home to the way it was before the storm.
So we talked about several areas of disaster-related cases that we really specialize in. What are the other areas that we haven't talked about?
Really anything that, any legal issue that arises out of a disaster, we can handle. It's easier to say what we don't handle, like we don't handle criminal defense cases, should that be connected to a disaster, or like a contingency fee case, like a personal injury lawsuit where that arose because of a disaster. We don't handle that type of case.
One of the things that we've really gotten to experience over the last couple of years since building this unit is we work a lot with seniors. We're in the Villages right now, so I think it's an important conversation to have. What are the important things people need to know when working with seniors, and kind of how do we approach those kinds of cases?
Seniors in general in Florida are more vulnerable to disasters than a lot of other groups because of where they live. Some of them are low income, combined, a lot of them live in mobile homes, which are also vulnerable to storms. And they're also low technology, so being able to contact them, communicate with them, stay on top of them. Some don't use emails. Some we have difficulty reaching them over the phone, or we can't send emails because they don't use that. So just being aware of that, being more patient with them, and being creative as to coming up with ideas of how to communicate and how to meet with them. Like, we have offices all over the place, so when we have issues with setting up conferences or stuff, we try to get the client to one of our offices so that we can video conference them in and have that conversation that we need to have with them.
One of the things that initially attracted you to come into community legal services was the idea that you could also serve fellow veterans. Tell me the importance to you of being able to serve veterans when they come to us with their issues.
Well, veterans, like seniors, are also more vulnerable to the effects of a disaster than most other groups. And then you add on that a lot of veterans are kind of stoic. They feel like if they're asking for help, they're taking it away from somebody that may need it more. So understanding that and trying to talk them and convince them that they're not stealing resources from anybody else, that they're entitled to this help, goes a long way to getting them in. And
let's shift gears and talk a little bit about your role as a leader within the organization.
Okay.
So you have a new team that's really been built over the course of the last couple of years. What is your management style?
I hope they see it as a servant leader. Like, I try to put their interests in front of my own, or the interests of the unit in front of my own. Being humble, realizing that you can't know anything, and being it's okay, and in fact you should allow a subordinate to shine when they know something more. They may be an expert in that area, and just allow them to go. Yeah, that would be, I hope that's what they see my style as.
Well, and I think this unit obviously has had several challenges along the way, and I think that what's great about your leadership is, like, you'll admit mistakes when there are mistakes that happen and stuff like that, and I think that goes a long way to building a rapport with the people that you work with.
Yeah. And also a little bit of a sense of humor goes a long way to try. Like, I have a reputation for finding the humor even in the darkest of times.
It's not only important that you are a leader to the people that you work with directly, but to your peers, the other managing attorneys in the firm. How do you relate to them and work with them?
Just to be open. It's a two-way street. If I'm asking something or help from a manager or a colleague in the firm, when they come to my unit and need help, it's like to respond. It's not some leaders like to hide the football, so to speak, and they're fearful of being open and transparent. But yeah, they're just, when they need help from us, we're there to help them out, and hopefully when we need help from them, they'll return the favor.
From all your military experience, which we talked about, you were in the military a long time, did you learn anything from those experiences, or did you have any kind of mentors in the military that kind of inspired your own leadership?
There were so many. but sometimes you learn more from a bad leader than you do from a good leader. Like, I'm never going to do that, or I'm not going to be like that. So some of the lessons learned were lead by example, don't hog all the glory, share the glory, and take care of your people first, and they'll end up taking care of you in the end.
Yeah, no, it's good that you're able to take something. I know we have very different cultures at Community Legal Services, but we all are obviously part of the same culture of service, which, I think is important. If people are watching and they have any of kind of the legal issues we've discussed or any kind of other disaster issue, how do they get in contact with us?
Well, you can go to our website and call our 800 number and call the helpline. That's probably the most reliable way to do it. There are ways of submitting online. Look for us at sheriff's emergency preparedness events, or county emergency preparedness events, but best way is to call us on the helpline.
All right. Thank you very much, Paul.
Cool.
Thank you to Paul for agreeing to be interviewed and for all the amazing work you and your team does for our clients. Thank you for watching.